Welcome to the channel, guys. I just have a quick announcement before we get to the review. I'm going to be making an appearance on a friend's channel. That is the Late Night Chat Network. The information's down in the About section, in the info section down below. And we're going to be talking about the movie Zodiac, and that's coming up in the next couple of days on Wednesday, May 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check me out there. If you like movies and you like me, go check that out. I'll be there. And again, the link's provided down below. And please tune in. Live chat section is going to be open, and we can all just hang out, have a good time there. So let's get to the review. Thank you. The Netflix exclusive movie Army of the Dead has finally hit the streaming service, and this is my honest review of it. Zack Snyder is back for the second time this year directing and sharing producing and writing credits on this movie. So, Army of the Dead is an action thriller about a group who was trying to perform a heist in Las Vegas, which has become quarantined because of an outbreak of the undead. The trailer really had me convinced that this would be a unique interpretation of this done to death genre, but unfortunately for me, it was not at all. You have to remember, this is coming from the guy who directed the 2004 Dawn of the Dead, another zombie movie that was universally beloved, but that same energy is just not present. It's absent from this movie, which is kind of weird. Let's start off with the good about this movie. The cinematography is surprisingly mature. He's developed very much as a director, and there aren't a lot of saturated tones, just like a lot of his other films, like Man of Steel, Dawn of Dead, 300. He's really developed well, and he's using his cinematography very subtly, and it just shows that he's really gotten better at it. The CGI effects in this movie were pretty impressive for the most part, except whenever they had an explosion, the flames, the fire, it just looks so digitally manipulated. If they had real fire, real smoke, real particle physics, it would have looked so much better, but you can tell it was done on a computer. It wasn't a real explosion happening then and there. There was a CGI tiger in this film, courtesy of Carol Baskin from Tiger King. Uh, and that tiger was used as reference, but it was hit or miss in some scenes, but mostly it was done fairly well. Some of the humor in this movie works very well for the most part. There's a scene, for instance, when they're in front of the bank vault and they're trying to trigger the traps in order to get the money, and that entire sequence was actually pretty hilarious, but for the most part, it could have been written a little better. There is one scene in this entire film that stopped me from giving this movie a whole grade lower, and that scene is the opening credits. It's done so well, it's like a movie on its own because everything that comes after it is just subpar, and it doesn't live up to that opening. And watching it, I was really expecting a lot, but unfortunately, the rest of the 2.5 hour runtime doesn't live up to that at all. For instance, you have Zack Snyder's trademark slow mo, but it's like a few frames higher. You have this contained story, and you really care about the characters, even though you have no dialogue. And all while the credits are playing over this, and then it cuts to the real movie, and it's like, okay, it kind of the pacing kind of got screwed up there, and it's just it never comes up to that standard again. Now that brings me to the bad about this movie. Dave Bautista's acting just was so wooden, and he's usually good. He's great in the Marvel movies as Drax the Destroyer in the Avengers films. Aside from him, there's also that actress who played the helicopter pilot, and it just seemed like she was trying too hard to be likable, but she just came off as like a entry level improv actor fresh out of high school or something. There is a moment in this film where you start to develop feelings for a couple of characters. This is towards the end of the movie, and you think, okay, I didn't see that coming. This is taking an interesting turn. And then one of them is just brutally murdered. It's like the most brutal scene in the entire movie, and that just goes out the door. It's just squandered potential. Like, you could have made more of that, and I wish the film had more of those connections, but you just can't latch onto anybody if everybody's wooden. The plot has a high degree of predictability. The characters are hollow. The action's a bit derivative and unoriginal. The story is generally stale, and it's overly overall as a packaged blockbuster. It just gets a bit tiresome because I've seen it all before in several other movies. What's weird is they establish some fascinating trends in this movie because they have this hierarchy of zombies. You have sort of these god level zombies that lead the whole pack, and then you have a zombie tiger, you have even a zombie baby, but they don't explore that any further, and that would be interesting. They just sort of mention it on a surface level, but it would have been great to get some depth to this new culture, this new universe of zombies that exists. This whole movie seemed like this treasure trove of good ideas, but then they were all just kind of mishandled or wasted, thrown away in the trash. And on top of that, they also try to squeeze in a pitch for a sequel in the final scene of this movie, but I'm not buying it. Like, I'm not interested in seeing it. I'll catch it if it's free or, on Netflix if I'm bored, but this movie didn't sell me enough on that, and I don't think I'm going to be checking out that second one. So sadly, I'm giving Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead a 5 out of 10. That's it from me, guys. Thank you again. Ciao.